This is the Ink, Pray, Love podcast. We talk all things health, wealth, and community connection. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Ink, Pray, Love podcast. We are shooting from Lighthouse Studios in Bali, the premier content creation studio, cafe, and co-working space on the island. Come visit us sometime. You're going to love this place. Today, I have a very special guest for you, as I always say, but they're always awesome. They're always special guests. My buddy Anthony Engelen, he's a professional fighter, professional MMA fighter with 15 years of experience. He's going to tell you how to follow your passion and your dreams if you're doing something maybe your parents didn't want you to do, like fighting people for a living, as well as how to take a loss, whether it's in business, in relationships, or in the ring, and still persevere through that and get through anything that you've been through like a boss with the fighter's mindset, the martial arts mindset. That is a very valuable thing for anybody, whether you're making cupcakes for a living or you want to be a fighter or you want to be an entrepreneur. These are skills that'll help you in everywhere in life. And with no further ado, Anthony, thank you for being here today, bro.
Thanks for having me here, man.
Yeah, man. We've been like Instagram friends for a couple of years now.
Yes.
Yeah, a few years, like a while.
Yeah.
Whenever I see somebody doing something awesome on the island, and I was like, I want to train with this guy one day. Like that was always, we're definitely going to get the training in.
Yeah.
But we've been like just a good camaraderie and a brotherhood virtually for a while now. So to meet you for the first time in person today.
Finally, man.
Right?
Finally.
I feel like I got a bro. We've been bros for a minute, but then now I get to actually see you here for this context. Thank you. It means a lot to me.
Welcome, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here, man.
It's a pleasure, bro. We were laughing earlier that you were in this Alien movie or the Clone movie.
Yes.
That was the premiere was shot here at Lighthouse.
Exactly.
And that was hilarious because you're showing me this like you played like a clone or a cyborg with a big scar on your face, and you were the bad guy. And meeting you're such a good guy.
Yeah.
And then you had to play a bad guy shooting your dogs or shooting someone's dogs in the movie.
It felt so wrong. I mean, it was such a good time doing that movie, you know, together with my buddies from the gym.
Yeah.
My wife was in the movie. My dogs were in the movie. And yeah, I was playing the bad guy.
Yeah. You had to kill your own dogs.
And I had to kill my own dogs, you know. Oh, it sucked. And everyone's booing me, you know. Like, oh, boo, asshole, you know. So it's okay. I'll take it.
It's funny. I love pit bulls, by the way. They're gorgeous dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, man. How did you become a fighter? Like, what was your route to that? Where'd you grow up? Give us some origin story of Anthony.
Right. So I grew up in a small town in Holland. Population of nothing. Like, everyone knows each other.
Yeah.
And, you know, I used to be, I mean, I still am, like, usually, like, one of the smallest guys around. Especially in Holland, you grow up in Holland, you're like, it's the tallest people in the world.
Yeah.
So you know, I got picked up. I got picked on. I got bullied a little bit back when I was in school. So at a very young age, I needed to, you know, learn to defend myself. And so I started like doing like several sports, and I was always pretty good at sports in general. You know, whether it's tennis or baseball or whatever it is, whatever I do it competitively. And so I started like doing Muay Thai and Taekwondo and everything when I was like still a kid.
Wait, they play baseball in Holland?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So actually, like, side note on that one, Holland, Cuba, and I think Japan is like one of the biggest baseball countries in the world. And aside
Other than America.
Other than America.
I knew Cuba, I knew Japan. They got some of the best players in the world. But Holland was like, what?
So Holland actually won a few times the World Championships.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
They beat America in the World Championship.
No, because America doesn't play in the World Championships.
Why?
America only plays in the
MLB.
The MLB.
Yeah.
They don't play outside that. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Wow, cool.
yeah, I actually did that for like 10 plus years, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I played baseball for like almost 10 years too, but like young.
Right.
Yeah, and I was bullied. I was fat. I was the slowest runner on the team.
Oh, okay.
You know, I wasn't the fattest kid on the team, but I was the asthma. I was the slowest runner on the team. And then I got into martial arts because I was like, I got to be able to defend myself as well.
Right.
It's funny how that works. So you were bullied, you got into martial arts. Muay Thai, I trained Muay Thai. That was my discipline. And that's why we connected. And then Taekwondo. And then how did that progress?
Right. So, you know, after I started getting more into martial arts side, you know, there was definitely a point in my life where where I started to become an asshole.
We all have those days. Yeah, me too.
When I was like, walking around and, getting into trouble with everyone, and like, especially in high school, people still trying to bully me, and I was not having it. And so I got into fights like every bloody week. I got kicked out 4 or 5 different high schools. And again, it's a small area where I live, so at one point it was like really difficult for me to join another school.
I was thinking, like, how did you get out of your hometown? Like, did you just beat everybody up?
Yeah, pretty much. Beat everyone up and get kicked out of every school, Not really a good example. I used to be a little bit wild, and
I would have never guessed.
Yeah, and then like until my parents sent me to a private school like a little bit further away, and that's where I like really changed my my persona. Like really took like 180-degree change, became way more calm, and not long after that, I started training martial arts properly. Because getting good coaches, a good team. And that's when I started with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's how it started. I was watching UFC on TV, and for a lot of people, when they see that on TV for the first time, they're intrigued with either the blood or the knockout and the whole spectacular of everything. What intrigued me was seeing these guys go at it and doing like the ground fighting part, the jiu-jitsu. I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was, but I'm like, what are these guys doing? Like moving, trying to choke each other out.
It's so technical.
It's super technical.
It's like playing chess while you're riding a bicycle.
It's playing chess with body parts.
Yeah. And I'm a lanky dude. I would kickboxing, I'd kick you from the other room.
Right.
And then I get turned into a pretzel in jiu-jitsu.
Exactly.
And I was trying to muscle my way through it.
Exactly.
I only got like 1 belt or something in jiu-jitsu. I was like, my body's not designed for this.
Right.
I'm just like every 2 seconds.
Right. It's a crazy game, So I was watching that. I'm like, whoa, I need to get into this. So joined a local MMA BJJ school. Back then I was doing like a lot of fitness, I was like pretty pumped up, like feeling good about myself. I'm a badass. Let's do this. I've seen it on TV. I can do it. First 2 months, I got my ass handed to me by 16-year-olds, like skinny kids.
How old were you?
I was 20-ish.
Yeah.
In my 20s, like early 20s.
So it's embarrassing.
It's super embarrassing.
Yeah.
And at that point I could have said, yo, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
This is not for me. But instead it just triggered it to, it just triggered it in me. I'm like, holy shit, these kids are beating me up. I need to know more. I need to train hard. I need to get this. And sure enough, like after a few months, I started to get it, and then I was like, beating these kids up, and then it just kind of progressed after that.
Awesome. It's great that you're beating kids up.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear it.
It started with the kids. I gradually went up.
Fuck, did you ever see that Seinfeld episode where Kramer does karate and he's like beating a bunch of kids up? You ever seen that one? Or was Seinfeld in Holland?
There is Seinfeld.
Okay.
I might have seen that one.
Sure.
I'm not a big fan of Seinfeld. I know it's a really American thing.
It is. It's a big American thing. Well, the context is he's joining martial arts, but he's in like a kid's class. And he's a full-grown man, and he's just kicking the shit out of these little kids in karate. It's a hilarious episode. Anyways, what I love about what you said was, and I think a lot of people can connect to this, is like if you need to make a change in your persona, like getting out of your environment for a little bit is super useful.
Yeah.
And that's what it was for me, to get out of the guy that I was in Vancouver to come to Bali and just get out of that for a minute. And that's powerful. Like it really helps. And one of my coaching clients came out here, and I was trying to link him with you to do one-on-ones, and he needed to get out of his environment to shift who he was, similar story to me. And just getting out and just having a bit of breathing room for the person that you're stuck being for a while shakes you up a little bit. So I highly recommend that to anybody that's like, I need to make a big change in my life. It's like, cool, go somewhere by yourself for a little bit. And that really, even 2 months alone did a huge thing for my shift in myself. And then also what I want to touch on, I really love that you persevered through something that was embarrassing, like your ego and your pride could take a hit. And you're like, damn it, I'm not good at this for a minute. But instead of just like fucking off, you're like, you lean in to get better.
Yeah.
That's something I think a lot of people can really touch on, that, hey man, if you failed at something at the start and you're like, shit, maybe I'm not a good entrepreneur, or maybe I'm just bad at relationships, or maybe I'm just, my anger problems, or like for me, it was like, shit, maybe I'm not good at managing things for a minute, where I had a few businesses where I could have done a better job managing. And then you're like, you know what? No, I'm going to learn the things. And what was that like? You're just like, fuck it, I'm going to learn the stuff. Did you train harder then? Did you what was that time in your life like where your pride and ego was hit, but you made that shift? Like, how can other people get that?
Yeah, man. Quitting is easy. Anyone can quit, but it takes grit to persevere and just stick with something, no matter what it is. In my case, it's martial arts. Like you said, in other cases, it's being an entrepreneur or relationships. You just got to stick with it and work on it. You just got to work. Anything worth doing is going to be hard, but stick with it long enough, it's going to pay off. And that's what it did in my martial arts career. I stuck with it. I went through the ranks, blood, sweat, and tears, fighting everyone, fighting on little shows, eventually getting myself to big shows. And man, it's been amazing, and you just got to stick with it, man.
Yeah.
Win or lose, you got to stick with it.
You were stating earlier before we talked that like your folks wanted you to do something different. What did they want you to do, and how did they think about your like, I'm going to professionally beat people up? Like, what was that?
Right.
Yeah, what was that like?
Right. So, the main reason I moved to Indonesia back then, because I've been living in Indonesia for.
You're half Indonesian, right?
My dad's Indonesian.
Cool.
So I started coming here in 2007, and as an internship program and blah blah blah, working at a tea company owned by part of my family. So I was,
tea company.
yeah, that's, I know, it's something totally different, right?
Yeah.
I was trained to become a tea taster and everything. Yeah.
Wait a minute. You're a professional fighter that was trained to become a tea taster.
I know.
I've never heard that one before. That's pretty funny, bro.
So yeah, that was what I was doing for quite a few years. But while I was working at the company, doing my tea tasting and selling, I was a tea trader, selling tea to international companies.
Like,
yeah,
fighting is no cup of tea. Or that job wasn't your cup of tea.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
But still having martial arts as a hobby.
Yeah.
Because like I said previously, like I've always been into sports. And so I would, do my regular day job, and then in the evening when I got home, I go to the gym and do my MMA training. And sometimes I have like some competitions in the weekend or something, and then I show up at work, with a black eye or broken nose and stuff.
Just here to taste tea and
Yeah.
That's hilarious,
right?
Yeah.
And then until at one point where I just felt that, the regular day job is not doing it anymore for me. It's not making me full anymore, and I need to be out there, like working.
Go pro.
Working with my hands, basically. Because at that point I wasn't pro yet.
Okay.
I was doing like local competitions here and there, but obviously I still have my day job. So at one point I decided to quit my day job to pursue my career, and that was obviously a big, a big shock for my parents, because they're very classical. They're like, you grow up, you go to school, get a job, that's it. Like most parents want. So when I decided to change that around, they were like, oh man, Anthony, like, why are you doing that? We've provided so many opportunities for you. Why are you trying to pursue a bloody martial arts career? Like, who does that? I'm like, well, listen, Mom, Dad, it might not be the perfect way to do this, but I really feel that this is where my heart is, and the day job is just not making it for me. It's not fulfilling me. So, please give me, please trust in me for me to figure out what I need to do to get there. And I hope you guys can support me. And, because my mom and dad, they love me a lot and they always support me. So they're like, okay, Anthony, we trust you. You do your thing. So after that, I was like doing like odd jobs here and there for like a year. I was an English teacher for a bit at like elementary schools in Jakarta.
Did you show black eyes there?
I didn't show with black eyes, but I was like in front of the class with like my beard's like triple the length back then, So I was like quite a character there in school.
These kids would not fuck around.
Right. They definitely
because you beaten up kids before. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been there, done that, and I tell them the story, So
you
like,
better watch
out. Like still going through, like the local competitions, training as much as I can, until at one point I got signed by one championship, and that's when I turned pro. That's when my day job became training and fighting.
I love that. I mean, one championship's probably the biggest fight league in Asia. Like it's UFC has a huge market share, but I think one's getting quite big now.
100%, 100%. I mean, one championship is actually the biggest one after UFC worldwide, actually.
Yeah, I love that to see that because it's just UFC has so much clout because it's such a big American thing.
Sure.
It's like the premier one, but ONE FC is underrated. It's a very underrated thing, is what I see. And having a couple other fighters that I'm close to, seeing how they get treated and how it's a bit of a different system than UFC, it's cool to see. But did you ever think like, okay, I'd want to get to the UFC? Is that a dream of yours?
Yeah, it's a good question actually, and I've been asked that quite a few times.
Sure.
Back when I was still like really active in one championship, because I'm not with them anymore. The main difference for me is, when you're in the UFC, even if you're the best fighter, but you're not a showman, you're not into the trash talking part. Yeah. You're not gonna make any money. You still might fight only like once a year.
You got to be a personality. You got to be a brand,
right? Like look at DJ Mighty Mouse.
Oh yeah,
right? One of the best fighters ever, dominating in his weight class, unbeaten in his weight class. But he's not a trash talker. He doesn't make a big show about his persona. So what happens? He gets sidelined. Eventually, he got traded with Ben Askren from ONE FC. Wow. So DJ went to ONE FC. Wow. Ben Askren went to UFC.
Yeah.
So that's very typical about UFC. Me, I'm not a trash talker. I respect all my opponents. If I meet them before the fight in the hotel, I would shake their hands, say, hey, what's up, man? Let's put on a good fight. And it's all good, because we're professional athletes, I don't believe in like the whole show and talking, but you asshole, I'm going to kill you. No, it's not like that, I'm not there to kill you. We're here. At the end of the day, it's a sport, and we're both trying to win a sport. There might be some punching going on, some face punching going on. There might be some blood at the end of it. But at the end of the fight, you give each other a hug because you respect the hell out of the blood, sweat, the courage, the blood, sweat, and tears that put into it prior to the fight, and you leave it in the cage. 100%. So that being said, no, I don't per se need to go to UFC, just because I respect the culture more in Asia. Yeah, it's more an Asian thing of like respect, So yeah, and plus when it comes like money wise, for example, unless you're Conor McGregor, then it makes sense to be in the UFC, because then we're talking like big bloody money, right? Yeah. But if you're like mid tier, it's not a big difference. Yeah, it's not a big difference at all, man.
It's wild, and the martial arts aspect of that, because like as someone who's fought in the ring, not at a professional level, there's so much respect that needs to be in it, and you'd see people that would, at that level, act douchey, and everybody else in the whole like in a tournament level, they're like, look at this asshole. Like everybody else is like, come on, bro, you know, because it's just classless. Like it wouldn't be that. But then in the UFC, you want to be that trash talky stuff. And I was just there with, speaking of Ben Askren, so I was at the Jake Paul Nate Diaz fight, and I was in the fight camp. My buddy's Jake Paul's breathwork coach. It was quite interesting to see this, because I had a preconception about Jake before going in, and I was like, oh, this is like come on, man, he's just talking a bunch of shit, and it didn't seem classy. And then when I met Jake in person, he was totally different than actually. It's a persona. The whole thing's a show, and he's actually hyper focused, diligent, into spirituality, into plant medicine, conscious. It blew my mind, bro. It blew my mind, because I was like, damn, this guy is actually so dialed in. I actually loved hanging out with him. And I'm there with him and Aubrey Marcus and Lucas, my buddy Lucas Mack, and we're just telling stories late into the night before his fight, and just talking about life and travel and plant medicines and spirituality. It was amazing. Like, it was the coolest thing to see. Yeah, it blew my mind. And to see the difference in his persona that makes so much money now, the salesmanship of it, and then him as a human are very different things. And the way his team moves, they're like the Navy SEALs of content creation. Like, they're so dialed. So him managing and building this whole thing, and he's not a fan of Dana White and how he treats the fighters. So he's trying to build this thing to support the fighters. Actually, like, a great human. It blew me away. And so then when I was at the weigh-ins and the trash talking between Nate and Jake, it was crazy. Like, so much disrespect. You know, it's a big show, right? And just seeing that whole thing go on, I was like, whoa. And it's like very American, you know, it's a big show. So it's very different from the Asian style, where I was training in Thailand and, you know, training with Sanchai, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. He's such a kind, epic human, so much respect. And then if you don't respect, you're gonna get the shit kicked out of you. Like, you show respect, and I really love that style of martial arts. Like, my heart's in that, because there's so much courage and dedication in training it as to get up there and put your head in the ring, and just to train and spar. You know, you have to be humble, or you eventually will get humbled, because there's always someone out there that's gonna be better than you at some point in time, right? So it's like, be respectful. And so that's one thing that really humbled me, because I was a cocky little teenager too, and then getting into martial arts. And first, I think everybody should get punched in the face at one point. Everybody definitely should get punched in the face, just so you know what that's like. You know, and just so you know, like, hey, that doesn't feel good, so watch what you say. You know?
Totally.
I think in this culture, it's not enough people get punched in the face, so then they just flap their gums a bit too much, and it's like they're just reckless with their words, and it's like, yeah, but you don't know what it's like, you know.
Especially these internet warriors, bro. Holy shit.
Right? And so many people will just talk shit, and you're like, yeah, but you would never say that in person. It's such a thing, right? So seeing that, I love to hear your perspective on the situation, because that martial arts respect, it's a game changer. How has that helped you in other areas of life?
I mean, you know, training for as long as I've been training, you know, it really humbles you, you know, because once you're on the mat, you're putting so much effort on the mat. You're getting your ass kicked on a daily basis, and at one point you realize, okay, you know what, I can actually fight, but you want to really save that just for the mat, you know. So you go outside of the gym, and you know, you're confident, your whole persona has changed, but now instead of trying to find trouble, you're avoiding trouble.
Totally.
You know, because you don't want that. You don't want to get into trouble, because, you know, if trouble happens and you got to react to it, it's gonna end badly, you know. And that's how I try to navigate through life. I try to always avoid trouble. I really hate stress in my life. I try to stay away from any negative sort of situation, no matter what it is, like in the broadest sense of the word, you know, because no one needs negativity in their life. I
know exactly what you mean when you're saying that too, because I was in a lot of like street fights and trouble and bullshit before I started seriously training.
Right.
And then when I actually got to know what it's like to be in a real, like in the ring and in the fights, and actually developed, having a good mentor in kickboxing or in the martial arts, and then just seeing this calm, like this energy of like, I'm dangerous, but I'm also a provider, protector, community member, was something I really admired, that you need to harness your danger.
Yes.
And then when you're able to, you're just calm. And I never got into like a fist fight, any altercation really, like ever again, for the most part, other than self-defense here and there. But the whole thing about that was I just make friends everywhere I go.
Right.
Like every room I walk into,
Right.
I think people can see like, oh, the way I walk or this, that, like, that looks like someone who can probably throw it down, but
Right.
I have a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
And there's something about that disarming nature.
Right.
Like, you look like you can scrap.
Right.
But then when I meet you, it's just like calm energy, sweet energy.
Right.
And I think that's really powerful for people to bring into a room. It's like, you're not here to start shit. You're just capable and kind.
Exactly.
And I love that about you. And I think that's something that people can bring into their lives, whether you're male or female, of that you're a competent human, but you're here in a loving stance.
Right.
That's a superpower.
And that's really what one of the most positive effects of doing martial arts. It changes someone for the better in so many ways. And that's why I think that everyone should at one point train martial arts.
Yeah, and get punched in the face.
And get punched in the face. No, because they, like you said, you know how it feels like, And
I have a bunch of female friends that started kickboxing or do boxing and stuff like that, and like the benefits are massive outside of the training.
Right.
Like in stress management,
Yeah.
let out some aggression.
Right.
Like when I get training, I'm gonna hit the pads or do a hard pad work session. It's like therapy.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm letting out like, it's like, fuck you, dad. I'm just kidding. It's the whole thing that you're like really letting out a bit of aggression.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really powerful thing to go and do. And like I was in a situation that I can't fully into, but I was separating from a business in Vancouver that I had launched recently, and it was not the easiest exit because it was getting a little bit ugly, and it turned out all okay. But I was training boxing 3 days a week because I was like, just in case something is going to kick off, I'm going to be very sharp and prepped. But it didn't go there. But I just you'd rather be a warrior in the garden than a gardener at war.
Yeah.
And I was training, but it was also just to let out the anger I felt from being possibly taken advantage of or a situation, and also me for making a bad judgment call for going into business with people who didn't have the same values as me. Good lesson, right? But
Right.
I was angry at me, and I was angry at the situation and the just the timing and the waste and all this and that. But I was training, and it was every time I'd finish the training, I'd feel much better. The stress relief.
Right.
So I think people who are like, oh, I fucking hate my boss, or they're fighting with this person, or they have drama with their mother-in-law, whatever it is. It's like, yeah, go and hit the pads.
Yeah.
We need that movement and that primal to get it out, right?
You need to relieve all these like emotions.
Yes.
You need to get rid of it in order to control your emotions. Right?
Exactly.
Because I forgot like the quote or something I saw on Instagram. I think Jordan Peterson said it, right? Like, a dangerous man is someone who can't control his emotions. It's better to be a guy that knows how to beat people up, but doesn't because he can control his emotions.
Yeah, something like that. A
Something
dangerous
like,
man can't control his emotions, and a powerful man can control his danger. Something like
right.
that. I don't know if that's it, but it sounds cool.
It's along that way,
Yeah.
right? But it's very true, because and this is what martial arts does for us. It teaches you a high level skill.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it teaches us to harness that skill and
control
and to harness those emotions.
I really found that as well too, because I'd be training with people I was teaching Muay Thai, teaching kickboxing, and I'd obviously be training some fighters that were not as skilled as me. When I was there, I was a black belt, and it was like, okay, I'm training with people that, are new, and maybe some guys come in and they can be a bit cocky, or like, especially bouncers were fun to train, and it'd be like a bouncer that was like in the first 2 months, 3 months, and they're used to being very like, we're oppressive force, and then you could just pick them apart, fold them like a lawn chair.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'd have to have control. Otherwise, I'd be knocking people out that are students, and it's not cool. You have to have control, right?
Yeah.
So even when they're kind of pouring it on, I'd have to be skillful. It's
Sure.
like, go for a hard leg kick, don't go for a knockout or something to that effect, right?
Nice liver punch.
Yeah. Spinning heel kick to the sternum, my favorite. And the control aspect of it was super important, and that leads back to the emotional regulation. I think it's extremely important for us to be able to control our anger, like be good at being angry. Like anger is an emotion that we need. It's important. But can you be good at being angry?
Right.
Skillful anger.
Okay.
And that was something that I found really helpful for me, where I was like, yeah, there's a lot of situations in business or with staff or in relationships, and I'm angry. I can feel like there's anger. That's a natural emotion coming up, but can you control that?
Interesting.
And that was something that was a big thing I needed in business for sure. Because if you're not good at controlling your anger, it's gonna fuck your business up without a doubt. Like you're gonna yell at your staff, or you might flip out at a customer who gives you a bad review and like, fuck you or something. It's like no. Control your anger. Be good at being angry. And yes, you can be fuming inside, but can you come to a situation with a controlled and decisive assertiveness that's not an irrational, emotional response? And it's the same in fighting, because it's like, cool, you took a little hard shot to the face. Are you going to get rage out and hurt somebody badly? It's not
going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to work.
It's going to be bad for you.
Yeah.
You can either really hurt somebody else and that's irresponsible, or, it's just going to end up being bad for you.
Yeah.
And I found that really important. Like what's your relationship like with anger after training so long?
Yeah. So like I said, I like that point. For me, though, I don't really get angry.
Awesome.
Again, like I said, I steer away from negativity. And so I pretty much almost never get angry.
That's awesome. It's fucking hard.
It's a skill, I guess.
Yeah, that is a skill. That's a good way to live.
Yeah, because even if you can harness the angriness, something led up to that point that made you angry, which possibly could have been avoided. So I try to avoid that. And of course there's situations where I'm a little bit okay, I need to do something about it. This kind of gets to me, and then I do it, and then I take that situation and I turn it so it doesn't get bigger. Again, I want to avoid negativity, and I try to change it before it reaches like the anger state. Now, if you flip that to, let's say, fighting, you just mentioned like, how do you act? Like, okay, you get punched in the face a few times and you're kind of like in a losing situation. Are you gonna like see like a red curtain in front of you, like a bull,
Yeah.
And that's not the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're getting punched and it's not going like you planned, you still need to be focused and sharp, and really consciously think, okay, this is not working. I need to do this, this, and that to make it work. And you just got to go for it. Not think about emotions like, oh shit, that hurt. Oh man, this is not going well. Oh, am I gonna lose? Like, what if? Because then you already lost. You gotta turn it up, change the game plan, and just go for it. And and it's just cold emotions, man. Like, you cannot have doubts. You cannot doubt yourself. You got to trust your training. You just got to go for it.
I really love that, because also that brings back to like real life situations. Is you're not getting swept up in your emotions. You're just getting tactical. You're just thinking of a plan and solutions, and really doubling down on the solutions. And I really like that, because that's why training's so important. For me, practicing mindfulness and trying to relate that to my personal emotional state. It's like, don't get wrapped up and ruminate. And that's something I really need to do, is not ruminate and just let it go, or just see it. And like cold emotions is a good one. I think it's kind of like unattachment. So you're not attaching yourself to those negative emotions. You're just seeing them. And you're like, that's a thing, but what are you going to do about it?
Right.
I see that kind of coming out of what you're saying, and just to relate that for people that are, not getting punched in the face for a living, but they're just like, I'm an accountant, or they're or whatever.
It applies to anything, man. Like if something happens, whether it's your own fault or whether it's out of your control, something happens that is, has like some type of negative effect on you. You got two options. You can mope about it for a week long and like, oh shit, I'm feeling so sad about myself because this and this happened. Or you're going to say, okay, this happened. How am I going to make it better? Because it already happened. You can't change that anymore. You can't change time, right? You can't go back in time, right? So accept it and make a change. Go on to the next project or change the thing and make it better, man. Because it's no use in wasting time about something negative. Again, it's about that negativity. Throw it out the window. Change it, on to the next one. Man, that's how I live my life.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really enjoy that. And I think that's what I like is like seeing a transferable lesson. Like, okay, you get punched in the face and that one stung. It's like, well, you gonna be mad about it, or like you gonna get mad, or you gonna get even. It's like something I like to say, and like not like in even as like a vindictive way, but like you gotta do something about it.
Right?
Like, are you gonna answer back?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with like something negative happening in business or in a relationship. Not getting even as like fuck you kind of bullshit. No, but like, are you gonna do something about it?
Right.
Yeah. Are you gonna make a solution happen? And that's super important. And then one thing I want to touch on, like we both know a lot about injuries, of course, right? And that can be really disheartening, especially when it's like, can you fight again, or can you just took a loss in the ring, or you got injured and took a loss, even worse, right? It's like, it hurts, right? Yeah. And I get it, because during my accident, man, it was hard financially. I lost a lot of money. Almost dying is expensive in Indonesia. Damn, son. And all these
just
other
getting antibiotics is let alone almost dying.
Everything. It's a lot,
right?
And to take a big L and keep your head on straight. And I think people can relate to that in anything. You took an L in a relationship, a bad breakup, or your startup, or your business didn't go well. Your business right now isn't going so well, or you made a bad investment. You lost your shirt in crypto, whatever it is. How do you take an L and keep your head on straight, keep your heart open, keep moving forward? What's that like for you?
Well, I mean, listen, man. First of all, I think your story is way more inspiring than whatever I have to say, man. Because I've been following everything, and man, like seriously, man, that's super inspiring, bro. Like what you went through, shit. Like not a lot of people would be able to get back where you are right now, man. Like, so that's super inspiring, man.
Appreciate it.
So I just want to point that out. Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been through some hardships as well, of course. I remember my first loss, for example. I was like unbeaten for a while. Got my first loss. Really messed up my mind for a day.
Awesome. Yeah, just a day.
Just a day.
Great.
And then like I said, I put it next to me, put it beside me, and I head back to the gym and I start training again. Yeah. Because again, it's no use letting it linger, letting it fester in your mind, because it's not going to help you. It's happened. Okay, you feel bad for like a day or something, and then you just put it next to you and you keep on grinding. And whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're a fighter, whether you're selling villas, whether you're whatever business you are, that's the way you should do it. Don't let negative stuff linger. Think about it, address it, and then turn it around.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great detached, or just like an unattached way to let it like sink in and become your identity as well. And it's funny. I think of it like my recovery in a few different ways, and one of them, I like to gamify my life. Like it's just a big game I'm playing, and it was like, okay, I was playing the hospital game for a minute, like 17 days in the hospital. Right. I'm like, okay, this is the game I'm playing now. So can you play this game well? Can you be, fucking 2 broken legs, broken pelvis, broken arm? Can you do that well and play this game well? How are you going to play this level? Right. And I'll like try to gamify every situation. Like, how are you going to make this awesome? And then make that awesome. So, and it's hard when it's like something a bit more, that was emotionally fucked up, of course, and painfully fucked up. But then like, okay, you're playing like the business loss level, or you're playing like the heartbreak level. And so, but okay, you're playing, this is the situation that you're into right now. How are you going to do this one well? And try to detach from it as it's like kind of happening to you, but it's just like this cosmic game we're playing as a spirit in a body, and this is like my robot that I get to control, you know. So it's like, okay, your robot took some damage. Can you repair it and still push forward and play the game?
Right.
And so it's even more fucked the way I was thinking of it though, because I was like, shit, I might be in a wheelchair the rest of my life. That really was a reality that could have happened. And I was thinking that when I was in the hospital, in the emergency room when it first happened. And I was like, fuck, I might be paralyzed. Like I thought I broke my back, but I broke my pelvis. But the pain was in my lower back, and I couldn't move, right? And I couldn't move this leg. So I was like, oh no, like you might. It was crossing my head when I was in that ambulance, right? And at first I was praying to God, let's make a deal here. Like, you know, I'm sorry for whatever I did. And like I took full responsibility. Like that accident was not my fault. It was 100% that guy's fault. But whatever I had, whatever my karma was, I'm sorry. I accept this. It happened for a reason. I right away took as much responsibility as I could.
Okay.
And that helped it get better right away.
Yeah.
Right away, it helped it get a little bit better instead of being like, fucking why me? You know, because that doesn't help in the loss. It doesn't help in the ring, right? So that was like I had to own that as much as I could, and it helps. So if you break up business, whatever it was, right away, what did you do? And then it was like, okay, if you're gonna be in a wheelchair the rest of your life, like, okay, fuck, how are you gonna make that the best thing possible then? Like, how are you gonna do that as awesome as you can? Because we can make the best of anything. We just need to actually do it.
Exactly.
You know, that was like, okay, so be it. And that was like kind of, I had to like really think of it that way, like, so be it. So I'll walk probably a bit funny the rest of my life. You know, I think my right leg's a little shorter than my left leg now. so it's like a thing, which was tough news to hear.
Right.
When the doctor told me that, I flipped out for like 5 minutes, like kind of the similar practice. So he left the room. I'm in the hospital, and my right leg rebroke. They put the wrong piece of equipment in. They didn't have the size for me. I'm too big, you know, too tall in Indonesia. Right? So they didn't have a nail that would go down my tibia, the weight bearing bone in my right shin. They put a plate on the outside of it to kind of keep it straight, but that doesn't support my weight. So it was a bit too small for me. So after about 4 months of recovery after the accident, it snapped.
By itself
on its own on New Year's Day, right? And so it was like Happy New Year. The start to the year is, the doctor's like, well, that'll take 8 more months to heal. And it was heartbreaking. Like, I was making progress. I was starting to walk again on crutches after, about 4 months in a wheelchair, 3.5 months in a wheelchair.
Had to start all over again.
Yeah. That one hurt. Like, oh, that loss hurt so much. And I just remember being like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, 8 more months on crutches. And then he's like, yeah, and we're going to have to, like, your leg's rebroken. We're going to have to do the surgery again, put another plate in. It's going to have to, like, we have to clear some stuff. So you're probably going to have your right leg a little bit shorter than your left leg. I'm like, no. Like, that's not okay for me. No. What the fuck do you mean I'm going to have a shorter right leg? That's not okay. Right? And he's like, I said, well, what are you going to do about it? Right? Kind of thing, right? Like, sorry. Damn. And he leaves the hospital room, and I flipped out for like a good 30 seconds of just like, fuck! Fucking, like really like smash the table a bit. Like, And I was like, okay. Like, you got that out of your system?
Yeah.
I got it out of my system. Okay.
And now we deal with it.
Yeah, now you deal with it. And I was like, all right, just do what you got to do. Yeah. Get a fucking orthotic if you need to. Like, whatever you need to do, you're going to do it. And just keep it rolling. Keep moving forward. Keep doing what you got to do. And that was like such a big thing for that recovery that I was just like, how are you going to play this level of the game now?
Yeah.
It's like, I could see that, where are you at right now with your injuries and fights? And what level are you playing right now?
Yeah. Man, in my career, I've injured pretty much everything in my whole body. Knock on wood, I haven't actually broken anything.
Awesome.
So it's like, my knees, all my joints, elbows, ribs, my back. I guess my back was like the hardest thing. I heard that with deadlifting twice. Something popped, and I was like lying down on the floor. Couldn't get up for an hour.
Shit.
And honestly, straight away, I was seeing like videos of me in a wheelchair as well, just because I was laying on the ground and I tried to get up. I just couldn't get up like for an hour. People trying to get me up, like, no. Like it's excruciating. Finally, I got myself up and got myself home in a taxi. Next day, I was doing like stretching exercise, like super gentle and everything. And then I got some mobility back again. And sure enough, a week later, I was doing a grappling competition and I won, No way. So that's pretty, awesome. Yeah. And again, injuries and everything, it's part of the game, man. It's part of the game. And a lot of people, they always ask me like, my foot is injured, or my knee is whatever it is, can I still train? Like, yeah, of course you can still train. Just be mindful about it. If something is hurting during your training, then don't push it too much. But there's, if your foot hurts, you can still punch.
Yeah.
Right? You can still kick with your left leg if your right leg hurts. So it's not an excuse to stop whatever you're doing, because, people love to find excuses to not do anything. It's a lot harder to find an excuse to actually do something.
Yep.
And that's how I kind of go through my life,
No, that's huge, man. I love that, because that's kind of where I totally relate to it, because I was like, okay, you're in a wheelchair, learn how to cook, like do something,
right?
Like do something. And it's like that with your fitness. If you're injured somewhere, do something,
right?
And so I couldn't train Muay Thai anymore. I was like, do boxing, and it was really helpful for my footwork. I'm excited to box with you and us train together. Yeah. And I was like, just right now, I tore my supraspinatus, a little muscle in my right shoulder, a tendon. And I'm like, oh, like I can't throw a hard right cross. Like, cool, work on your jabs.
Exactly.
Work on your movements. Like,
exactly. There's still so much more you can actually do.
We got to just keep doing something.
Yeah.
That was it, because so much was injured that I had to like find a way to just do a thing. So I was like, okay, I was all banged up. It's like, at least do those little like hand curly things to like, whatever.
Exactly.
Do something.
Exactly.
And in like my self practice, it's like, okay, I didn't have a ton of time today. Cool. Can you just do some at the very least, mindful breathing for 2 minutes?
Yep.
Whatever you got.
Yep.
Do something to keep pushing yourself forward, so you're able to just touch it. Like, go to the gym, you only had 20 minutes. Okay, at least you did 20 minutes.
Still 20 minutes.
Yeah, like something like that, right? And it's so important. Just in business, it's like, oh, I didn't have 10 hours or 8 hours of focused work today. It's like, well, can you get 20 minutes of something done?
Yeah.
If you're on vacation or something, it's like, cool, do your vacation, but can you just do a small amount so you keep pushing something forward? That's been a big practice, I think, for like long-term success, sustainable success, and multiple projects that I have on right now. It's like, cool, just do a little bit every day. And that's been the most sustainable thing for me, to be honest, because there's always something hurting. There's always something going wrong. There's always, something needs repairing or like whatever, there's always something there's always gonna be some excuse, right?
Yep.
It's raining outside or whatever the fuck. There's always some excuse. It's like, can you just show up and do a little bit? And then those days that you're feeling good and you're training, you're feeling healthy, it's like, oh, hit the press hard today, then heavy sparring because you're feeling a bit better. But then I'm sure there's days where you're just like, everything hurts.
and those are the days that you need to push a little harder to get your ass to the gym, because you could have said like, oh, you know what, I'm not feeling it today, I'm just gonna stay home. And those are the moments that those are the moments that count, because that's when you need to push yourself just a little bit more to get your ass to the gym, or to work, or to your project, or to whatever it is. And those moments are going to pay off. That's really putting money in the bank. Those moments.
Like that. That's the time. That's the time to really go for it.
Because everyone can do something when it's easy.
Yeah, when you want to.
Right?
Yeah.
But when it sucks, when it's raining outside, that's when you got to go. Again, those are moments that count, man.
Man, that just reminds me, because I think the hardest part for me for training and now was food. Like, I love food.
Tell me about it.
Man, I love eating. If I didn't eat how much I love eating and the foods I love to go, restaurants with my friends, that's like my favorite social thing, is either let's train together or let's go eat something, or both. Like,
same.
That's my favorite thing. Like, my favorite hangout with anybody is let's go do something active and then eat something dope.
Right.
Like, I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, if I didn't eat like I did, I'd be so cut and jacked. I'd look like an action figure. But I'm like, but I love food. It's hard. What was it like, cutting for fights, or even just now to stay in great shape? Like, what's your diet like, and how does that kind of wrestle in your mind?
Yeah, so like I'm normally on a seafood diet.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody that's just seafood.
Yeah,
seafood and you eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
That fucking joke. He got me proving it. The seafood diet joke. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's heard that one. Yeah, I seafood and I eat it. I love it.
Yeah, no, but I mean, man, I love to eat. Like, my two biggest passions in life, sports and food.
Yeah.
Like, two biggest one in life, and they go hand in hand, you know, because if I didn't train as much as I do, I would be like this, you know. And I take my food really serious, you know. I love really good food. I am always on the lookout for new places. When I travel, I always make a list. I do my research. I go on YouTube. I go on Google. I make lists about places where I want to go. And I would like
recon.
Like proper recon. I would pick a particular destination just because I know there are a lot of restaurants I want to try.
Awesome.
You know?
Awesome.
So I take my food.
Okay, you're the guy to ask for food then. Perfect.
Yeah.
Noted.
But yeah, I mean, but it kind of has to be in balance as well, you know. I mean, obviously, I can't be eating like the bad stuff every day in, day out, because that doesn't work for me, right? But I mean, I can still enjoy, you know, fried chicken, or, you know, like my fat on my steak or whatever it is, you know. Everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. You know, I love a drink now and then. I love a cigar. Everything in moderation. You know, and when it comes to fight camp, for example, that's when I need to make a change, and that's when I go 100% clean eating. So all the bad stuff goes out. No Coca-Cola, no fizzy drinks, no sugars, no fried food, and that's not easy for me.
Yeah,
because it's a lot of stuff that I like that I cannot have during my fight camp, and then a little bit of a weight cut, you know, and it's hard. It's probably one of the hardest things in fight camp. Is like the clean diet, and it's one of the things I look forward to most post fight. You know, being able to put my teeth in a big juicy hamburger with cheese and bacon again, you know. It's something I really look forward to, you know. But yeah, it's one of the sacrifices that I have to make. And
I see like so many extremes in fighting, because like so many fighters after they get quite big, I've seen so many, right? And I'm such an extreme character too, because I prefer me in a time of focused practice, and I just do better in those extremes, because then when I'm not in practice, I eat whatever and I love it, but I train hard,
right?
But like I just like me in a focused time, you know. Like I was doing 75 Hard, that program, the mental strength and fitness program. You ever heard of it?
No.
Oh, it's pretty dope, dude. I actually really like it. And I like the version of me doing it, but it's very focused. So you have to do 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes, 1 indoor, 1 outdoor, no matter what the weather is. If it's a storm, you got to train in the storm.
Okay.
So it's like, it's a hardcore practice, because it's about mental strength. It's not really about fitness fully, but I got in great shape. Right. You got to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book every day. You got to drink 3.8 liters of water every day, which was one of the hardest parts, to be honest. It's a bladder party. And then you got to be...
very random number, 3.8.
It's 1 gallon. It's American.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so and it was crazy. So like this black water bottle I have, I'd have to drink 3 of these every day. So I try to down 1 first thing in the morning, 1 while I work out in the morning, and then I can cruise on 1 the rest of the day, and try to be done drinking them by like 3 or 4 p.m. Because otherwise you're peeing, you know, while you're sleeping all night. Not while you're sleeping. You get up and pee. I didn't piss my bed. Only once, okay? No. And so then, and then you got to do, what else is there? You have to pick a diet that works for you. Some sort of diet, whatever the diet is. So I picked mostly just carnivore, like meat and veggies, no fried food, no sugar, no junk food. And then you can have no cheat meals for 75 days. And that's like, and if you miss any of those metrics, you got to start over again. And so it's pretty fucking hardcore. Andy Frizella, he's a dude in the States. It's his program. I loved it. Like I felt so good.
Okay.
I do good in those, and I was like, I love that version of me, because I need regiment. That's why martial arts for me were so great, because it was discipline. It was, you know, respect, honor, courage, discipline. You know, my gym was hardcore. We'd walk in, we'd have to bow to enter the gym. You know, yes sir to your teachers. It was you know, really disciplined. And I thrived in that, because my world in East Vancouver was chaos. It was just like, it wasn't a very rigid space. My high school was one of the most violent high schools at the time in the city. Stabbings all the time. It was crazy where it was nuts. Yeah. And so having that disciplined space for me was, I really thrived under that. And I think that with my coaching clients, they appreciate when I give them like regimented things to do. And it's like, do these things every day and you're going to become a better human. Like, I love that shit. You know? But then when I'm outside of that, I'm trying to find more of a balance, because it's like, okay, I'll let the foot off the gas pedal, and then I'm eating 2 cinnamon buns last night, you know, just like whatever. That's like the the balance aspect, how do you find a bigger balance, or do you just have your training input high so you can have play input high? But like,
Yeah.
how do we find balance?
Yeah. That's a good question, and everyone to their own. What works for someone doesn't per se have to work for the next person. I mean, you mentioned this really strict regimen really works for you, and I can imagine that works for a lot of people. For me personally, that doesn't really work for me. It's for me, it's like, everything balances each other out. I train hard. I eat reasonably healthy,
Yeah.
If I don't eat healthy, no problem at all. I'll eat chicken skin satay, fried chicken and all the bad stuff, or bone marrow. And, I don't care.
I love bone marrow though.
I love bone marrow.
I feel like
it's a
not-
superfood.
Yeah, it's a superfood. It's not bad for
superfood,
me. I
man.
feel like that's actually
It
good.
gets a bad rap, but it's superfood, man.
I was smashing bone marrow and all the bone broths and all the stuff during my
Yeah,
recovery, and
yeah.
I was like, "This is
Yeah.
good for me."
But yeah, when also like for example, these diets, right? Every other month there's a new diet. Like there's the carnivore diet, there's a paleo diet, there's a keto diet, the pescatarian diet, whatever it is, and then everyone gets so hyped up, like this is the new diet, like you need to get into this, Like, if you want to do it, you do it, man. Like if that's your thing, go for it, man. Like. And if you ask Nate Diaz, he's a vegetarian, right? Or like a vegan, right?
No shit.
Did you know that?
No.
Diaz brothers are totally vegan.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That blows. Wait, hold on. That blows me away because they're such like hood, Stockton, trash talking. They smoke
Yeah.
tons of weed.
I know,
You
I
know,
know.
I just wouldn't expect them to be vegans.
Yeah. Totally vegan. Totally vegan.
That blows.
Yeah,
It kind of blows my mind as much as what you thought Jake Paul would be like.
Right.
And the reason why I brought up Jake was because he knocked out Ben Askren. He did quite well when you were talking about the Ben Askren thing.
yeah.
I wanted to note that. That's why I brought it up.
Right,
Because he's
right.
actually a very capable fighter. I was like, holy shit, Jake.
Jake. Oh yeah,
He's-
totally.
he's
No,
fucking
he's
good.
a good boxer.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I mean, I still want to see him get knocked out.
Yeah, like half the world or most of the world. Yes,
but it's
wants
not
that.
happening at the moment.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
props to him. Props to him.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Diaz bros they're hardcore vegans, man.
fuck?
And they're like badass fighters. They got stamina for hours.
Insane.
They do triathlons just for the sake of it,
And they smoke so much weed, it blows me away.
right? But would that work for anyone else? No, not per se.
I just eat cookies if I smoke that much weed.
I cannot do a vegan diet and perform the same as I would now.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that stuff, it's about balance. Me personally, I like to eat my meats, eat my veggies, a little bit of carbs, and then maybe once in a week I'll have like some vegan dish. Maybe once in a week I'll have some fish. Again, it's all about balance.
Yeah.
And then once in a week I'll have a pizza or a hamburger,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. So I'm not too strict on myself. Like I have to do this. Nah, because man, it doesn't make me happy, man.
Yeah, sure,
You know,
sure.
I need a little bit of
Wiggle room.
yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We got to try the chicken burger here at Lighthouse. It's insane.
Okay.
I think it's the best thing on the menu, personally.
Okay.
Yeah, let me treat you to one after.
All right.
It was so good. I think what really helped me on that journey was learning more about like what worked for me. Because just like you said, the Diaz brothers can be absolute terminators in the ring, and they're eating broccoli and jackfruit tempeh and shit. You're like, what the fuck? Like, really? You think that's a red meat game? I need steak to be
Right,
powerful.
yeah.
But and I needed to find out like what worked for me. So I think that's important because everybody has a different body
Right.
style. Everybody takes in nutrients differently. Everybody has different deficiencies. So like what worked for me was my best meal that I operate the best on is like a steak for breakfast with 2 eggs,
Nice.
avocado.
Yeah.
And like that meal is a pretty keto.
Yeah.
My brain works better. I'm sharper. I'm not hungry. Those healthy fats keep me not wanting sweets at all the rest of the day. But if I eat, say, like carbs for breakfast or something to that effect, I just want sweets all day. And I had to be mindful of like what's it doing for me. And I think that's the catch there is eat something and then really be mindful of how it makes you feel, because I
Right.
think when you get in a big junk food cycle that a lot of people are in the West, they just get kind of immune to the psychological effects of what bad food's doing to them for so long.
Oh, yeah.
And so then, and if you've been eating clean for a while and then you have something that's not clean, you feel it big time.
Yeah.
But if you just eat like shitty for a very, very long period of time, you're just immune to it.
Yeah.
And you don't even look at it. You're like, oh, I'm kind of sluggish after I eat this. Well, whatever, I'll smash a big coffee. And you get into this like cycle of that.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I need to really stop and think like, how are you going to feel after that though? Like, what are you going to feel like? Does that make you perform better mentally and physically? Like, does that work for you? Because if you're one of those like aliens who can just eat whatever they want anytime they want and be a rock star, it's like, first of all, fuck you. Yeah. I hate you.
Yeah.
You know, those people that could just eat anything and they're just always jacked. And you're like, I
Right.
fucking hate you, man. Because it just, I look at a pizza and my love handles get bigger. But it's, so I got to train a lot, you know? So I think, but then what worked? So that was a cool thing to see, like what vegetables worked for me, or like which carbs actually I feel I operate well under these things.
Yeah.
And I had to start tuning into the food and looking into it. And I studied this a bit with some people like Ryan Kennedy. He was on the podcast, and I did a course on nutritionist, like a retreat with him. And it was amazing to see like, okay, you just got to find out what works and then sit with it and look at it. And then you can actually tune into the food and be like, how's that going to make you feel? And you look at it and you're like, that's going to fuck me up. I have to really look at something for a minute. And sometimes like my body will know, like just like pheromones, our body, we know whether we like someone right away. Like I saw a photo of you, I'm like, oh, we're going to be friends. Like you just kind of know when you just look at something, if it's a yes or a no.
Right.
Intuition. And I think we have food intuition as well.
Yeah.
You know, and you could drop out of just like the wanting, like, oh, fucking cinnamon buns. And you're like, yes, but really look at it for a second. And you look at it and you're like, sugar icing. Oh, that's all that dough. It's like, I'm not gonna feel good after, am I? You know, they have to think about it for a minute. I think that mindfulness in eating has been a big like game changer for me. I don't always practice it, of course.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Which is fine. But like, yeah, it's important to know at least, you know, and I think more people should know that, you know, don't just eat just for the sake of it, but know what you're eating and what it actually does to you.
Yeah.
You know,
just like more people should know what it feels like to get punched in the face.
Exactly.
You just know. You should just know what that's like.
Exactly.
You know? It's not happening enough in this world. It's super funny, man. It's a weird example. I'm bringing this up. When I was a drug dealer way back in the day, like I grew up in a rough area and I was a drug dealer for a while. And there were some girls that I worked with too. Like there were some female drug dealers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. But it was funny because guys would say a very different thing than girls would in that situation. Because guys would know you get punched in the face if you disrespect somebody. It's going to happen. Whereas this one girl that I worked with, a lesbian, she's awesome. We're still friends to this day, right? And but like I did know like, stuff always goes wrong in the drug game. You know, something happens, something's late, or it wasn't what you expected it to be when it got shipped in, or something to that effect. And you know, we'd just be like, oh fuck. You know, guys that we'd work with for a very long time, we'd be like, oh fuck, bro, okay, let's figure it out. You know, but it wouldn't be like, you dummy or something. You wouldn't get to the emotional reactivity where it would get to saying something. Okay. Because it's like you'll get punched in the face. Like we know that. But then the girl that I worked with, she just knew that I would never do that to her. Like she just knew that. So it'd be a different level of saying stuff because they just knew that violence wasn't going to be an option in this situation, or they didn't expect it to be. And I was just like, oh, if you were a guy. It was just like this whole thing that I'd think about if you were a guy. But I think that's also why people are so comfortable, you know, because we don't normally hit each other, you know, so people can say what they want to say and there's not those consequences of violence.
Exactly.
But in that world, in the fight world, you know, and in organized crime, it was like, watch what you say. Yeah. You'll be held accountable with violence. You're like, okay, I'm going to think about it for a second before we go there. Yeah. But also, I think we should watch what we say as well, because, you know, there's going to be a backlash of just your energy expenditure. Yeah. So sometimes I really have to know, like, should I say something in this situation, or somebody will DM me some stupid shit or whatever it happens, you know? And I'm like, is this worth my time?
Exactly. Exactly.
The energy expenditure.
Yeah, totally. Like sometimes you're flipping through Facebook or Instagram and there's whatever post and someone comments like a super stupid comment. And then I'm like already like typing a reply. And halfway through, I'm like, delete. What is my reply gonna change aside from me wasting my energy on this? It's not gonna move the needle. This person that I'm replying to is not gonna change his way anything. It's totally useless. Next. Yeah. You know? it's don't waste your time and energy, man, on this random stuff, man.
I'm sure you learned that as well, being married for so long, and you just had a baby. Congratulations, and your dad.
Man. Yeah.
And like seeing that like in a relationship, like, yo, pick your battles. Like, is like, is this gonna be worth the fight? Like, you know, we have to think about that for a second. Like, is this gonna be worth the fight? You know, I gotta remind myself that too. Like, hey,
9 out of 10 times, it's not.
It's not worth it. It's not worth the fight. Conserve your energy. You know.
Yeah.
And it was like that in jiu-jitsu because I was trying to muscle everything. You know, because I was just like in kickboxing, I could just throw a harder punch or this and get some space, get some room, but it's not like that in jiu-jitsu. It's a different thing. So if you're just like muscling, you're gassed in
seconds.
in seconds, and then you're getting folded into a pretzel.
Exactly.
And I was just like, you got to conserve your energy.
Exactly.
I think it was Winston Churchill who said, you know, one of his biggest things, his biggest assets was his conservation of energy. And like he would know when to, because he was dealing with crazy shit. You know, it was World War II, I think. And so he would chill. Like he wouldn't get out. I think he would be drinking at breakfast. He'd drink whiskeys at breakfast. It would trip you. He'd eat whatever. His breakfast, like when I looked into a little bit of his habits, it was astounding what this guy would do. He'd smoke cigars in the bathtub and drink whiskeys all day. And then he'd come to work and like do his thing. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, how?
He was a total badass.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you know a bit more about him?
I mean, aside from the fact that, you know, he was a really good leader and he liked cigars.
Yeah.
Not really like specifics, but I mean, I do know he's a badass.
Yeah. Just I didn't know like super in depth, but the fact that his conservation of energy practice involved a lot of chill, like a lot of baths. Like every day, like a 2-hour bath or something like that, like something excessive. I don't know if it was exactly 2 hours, but when I read it, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me, bro?" Like, you know, I take like a 3-minute shower. I'm just like wash, on with the day, you know. But I think people know what there's a therapeutic benefit. Like he's doing it for a therapeutic benefit outside of that. Like, do you have any practice that you do that is kind of mundane, but it's like it's for a different thing? Like it's worth it. Like I like going for long drives. And listening to an audiobook. And I'm like, that's giving me some time just to make some space in my mind.
Right.
You know? Is there something that you do that's like, cool, I'm conserving energy by doing something like a passive leisure?
Yeah. 2 things. I like to play golf.
Nice.
It's like an active recovery for me. You know, just walking on the range, and you know, golf. What do you call it? Golf.
Pitch and putt?
No.
Driving range?
Golf course.
Yeah.
The golf courses anywhere in the world are always very beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, it's like super beautiful nature, hilly, cliff views, especially here in Bali, you know, like with the ocean view and everything. Amazing.
Yeah.
And just walking around, hitting a ball, trying to get better at each swing, and then boom, onto the next one. And you know, that's very that really helps me, you know, like mentally to kind of recharge and to like, you know, kind of contemplate about certain things, you know, because it's just me and the ball and maybe like 1 or 2 friends, you know.
Yeah.
So that's something I love to do. The other thing I love to do is smoke a cigar. Smoke a cigar, have 1 or 2 drinks, preferably in good company with a few friends, and just, you know, talk about bullshit, talk about, you know, guy stuff.
Yeah. What do you like to drink?
It's either whiskey or Negroni.
Yeah. I can't do Negronis. Something about the taste of it. It's just a no for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, something about it. You know, I don't like. It's like that sweet aftertaste or like that bitter aftertaste or whatever that is. I'm just like never been a yes.
Okay.
Campari and Negroni. I'm like, but whiskeys. I like a good whiskey.
Right.
And there's something about savoring that. I like a Hennessy. And my drink, like a night out drink, I like tequilas because I feel like tequila is actually an upper instead of a depressant. It's more like that agave in it. I'm like, it's medicinal, you know. Like that's my excuse I like to use.
Yeah, fair enough.
Something, those are like the things I like. That's a good drink. I had a good old fashioned last night with my buddy Dylan, and I was like, that was like a good drink to sip on. It feels sophisticated. You know, I'm into
that's my favorite. Old fashioned.
I like a good beer. I like something like that. That's like my usual go-tos. Wine will give me a headache if I have too much wine. That's like I got bad headaches. Too many concussions. Boy, I've had 13 concussions. Oh, boy.
Oh, shit.
I'm surprised I can form this sentence.
Oh, man.
I learned something dope the other day. I was reading this book, and that's why I asked about like active leisure and there's passive leisure, and I learned about this concept, and I was like, okay, so active leisure is kind of, you know, when you're doing like golf. Like that's great. So you're like recharging. It's gonna give you energy, and it's gonna really give you energy. Passive leisure is more sedentary. You're sitting around, but they're talking about when you're doing a passive leisure that's like watching TV. It'll be only enriching for 30 minutes on average, and then it starts actually depleting your energy. And I was like, no fucking way. So when you binge watch TV for a long time, it's actually like zapping you a little bit mentally. It's actually like leaving you a little more unfulfilled. It's actually taking away from you.
Interesting. Yeah, makes sense, I guess.
Right? As opposed to like you just like, I guess, reading a book or something that takes a bit more brain power. You're going for a walk and it'll enrich you a little bit. And that really made it like, okay, cool. Maybe watch something for 30 minutes. But when you're getting, perfect example, I got sucked in last night. Because there's this P. Diddy stuff happening right now, and I grew up listening to Puff Daddy, and he's getting Me Too'd. He's kind of in the R. Kelly realm right now.
Really?
Oh, dude, this blew me away. Turned out to be a bit of a sexual monster, sexual assault, allegedly, right? But there's many accounts of it, possibly gay, but like forcing himself on Usher and Justin Bieber.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. It's a whole thing.
Really?
So I had to, and 50 Cent's posting every day about it, like making a documentary. Did he do it? Did he not? Hilarious.
Okay.
Because there's a rivalry between them for so long, but he's leading the charge of like, fuck this guy. He's been a monster. He's been abusing Cassie, his ex-wife, and he's been really, and he had to Diddy settled in court with Cassie, and I think she wanted $30 million or something. She could tell everything. So he settled right away, settled with it in one day. And now everybody's coming out of the woodworks being like, oh, they gang raped me 20, 30 years ago in the studio, a 17-year-old girl. There's so many, and like everyone's coming out of the woodwork to get money from him now to sue him. Man. So it's a whole situation, right?
Okay.
And I couldn't help but want to know more because I grew up listening to that era of music, right? And I had to do it.
Okay.
But I watched it for way too long. Right. So I was in bed last night.
Went down the rabbit hole.
Oh, bro. And I hate myself for doing this in the sense that like I never do it. And I tell myself like, what are you doing? Like, you know, and I'll actually like bug my friends who will watch like reality TV shows and stuff like that, or tabloids and stuff, because that zaps you. Like it just pulls your soul out of your body, and you're filling your head with stuff that you don't need to know, that is not enriching your life in any way
at all.
And I'm like clear about it. Like, do not watch the Kardashians. Do not watch this stuff. Like, this is gonna fuck your life up. Like, you're just wasting your life watching this. But the P. Diddy thing, I had to know about it. Okay. Like, I just needed to. I was like, "Are you serious?" He was like doing. He maybe forced himself on Usher. Like, what?
That's crazy.
When Usher was like 13 or 14, I was like, "What?"
Okay, that's
you have to. Like, I just had to know.
Okay.
That's very interesting.
Okay.
Bro, I watched it for like an hour, like in bed last night, and I couldn't sleep properly because you're watching a screen in bed. Yeah. It zaps your melatonin. First of all, you're just zapping your melatonin out of your body because that white screen pulls it out of you. It fucks up your sleep, you know. And it was just, I could feel the frequency of myself watching that stuff, and I was like, I just felt scrambled after watching it. Like, I didn't feel whole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, that's wild, man. That is wild. I mean, I grew up watching those guys as well, you know. But man, and to be honest, I couldn't give a rat's ass.
Right,
about,
good.
You know, like whatever makes them happy, you know, or not, you know, like, you know what, it's not my problem. Man.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I kind of feel like that sometimes with like tabloids and news, and there's always something to be outraged about. And like, I feel bad because like what's happening with Israel and Hamas and all that is a horrible situation.
Oh,
it's a genocide. It's fucked up.
Totally.
And what was happening just like the year before that, the Ukraine situation, it's fucked up.
It is.
But then there's other part of me that's like, well, there's always something.
Exactly.
It's human nature.
Exactly.
We are war monkeys.
Generally speaking, humans kind of suck. You know, like, honestly,
right?
There's a lot of sucky humans out there.
Fuck shit up.
You know, like I'm a dog person. You know, you know, like, generally speaking, I love my dogs more than most humans.
Yeah,
you know?
fair. I get it.
And then when it comes to this shit, you know, like, there's always a war going on, and there's always something that, you know, the media tells us to be afraid of, or someone's telling us, you know, you should care about this, you should care about that. You know what? I care about myself. I care about my family. I care about my friends. and that's about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Keep your like circle of attention and influence and care tight.
Right.
We give way too much fucks about shit we shouldn't give a fuck about.
Right.
Like, you know.
And again, it's that waste of energy that can be used in so many other ways.
Yeah.
But so many people, they decide to use that energy to care about stuff that is not gonna make them any better.
There's a funny line about that, because I like a thin line, because I totally agree with you in that sense, but then I feel a little guilty that I'm not like outspoken enough about some of these global issues that are horrible, like the Israel-Palestine thing. Like, people are like, yo, why don't you talk about this? You have a platform, like, you know, you should get this out there. And I'm like guilted into like talking about it, but I'm also like, well, like, there's always something. Yes, that's bad, but humans are always doing something, and this is not it's not my circus. But that's also, well, if no, I'm not going to talk about who is. Like, well, lots of people are, but also, like, you know, it takes everybody to stand up against it and you know. And I'm just like, there's a balance of like, well, I just don't have that much power, I guess, to like do something about it. But also, if we all do something about it, it would help. So I'm in this like, like, you know, battle about it. And it was like that with COVID, and it's like, yo, enough of us need to stand up against this. This is not what we think it is. There's something horrible happening here that's really oppressing us. But also, like, if I talk too much about it, I'll get canceled, or I'll get blocked or shadow banned, which I did. You know, there's like this weird view of that, and I guess, and I want you to elaborate on that. But your view is keep it in the circle of your influence.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you know, focus on the things that you can actually control. You know, anything that is beyond your reach, and you're trying to get it into your reach, it's a waste of energy. You know, and so many people, I know, like, are very outspoken about any crisis going on.
Every crisis.
Or every crisis, even worse, you know. And they're like so vocal about it, and like telling everyone everything. Man, it's bullshit, you know. Like, if you really, truly care about something, you're not going to be sitting here on a podcast or yapping on Instagram, or putting a flag on your Instagram like, I care.
Yeah,
you know?
I stand with Ukraine.
That's bullshit, man. Yeah. If you really care, you gotta put on your boots, you put on your backpack, and you're gonna go there and fucking do something about it.
Totally,
you know?
Totally.
And there are people that do that.
There's some badasses that do that.
And those guys have my respect.
For those guys who jumped into the war in Ukraine, there's a bunch of people that were like in Canada that I heard about in the news, and they were just like, fuck it, I'm going to war. And you're like, yo, they flew there to fight. I'm like, you're gangster, man. Like, that's G.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that element of it. That's something I can totally share that sentiment with you, right? And then there's the other end of it, the virtue signal train, where it's like, they're like, Black Lives Matter, and then they're like, Ukraine, and then they're like, Hamas, they're Palestine, and it's like, sure, but are you just waiting for the next thing that the media is telling you to be outraged? Because I also just don't trust the news. There's the other element of it. I just don't trust the news. I'm like, well, I don't think it's what you think it is, and they're just pouring a bunch of money into the Ukraine thing, and then there's something about it that there's just funding this huge military-industrial complex, and they're putting this out into the news so that people will be like, yeah, send the money, it's horrible. But really, that money is going towards nothing what you think it is.
Exactly.
So I think that's something. You know, and the whole Israel thing, they might just be going after this huge oil reserve, and that's why they orchestrated this attack on them, and it was a false flag operation, or they knew it was going to happen, didn't prevent it, so that they could come in and go for the oil. Like, there's always something that...
It's all very possible.
Yeah, I don't know. Fuck do I know?
Yeah.
But I don't know enough facts like that I could believe that what's coming in from the media to believe it's what they say it is.
Right.
So I'm like, why would I jump in and talk about it? And pick a side when it's like, it's probably something else that we don't even really know. You know.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, you know, because we're on the sidelines, you know, and we just don't know the real truth behind it. Yeah. So therefore, I'm not gonna sit here and pick a side.
Yeah, and waste energy into it.
And then waste energy on it, right? So yeah, man, that's
totally on your side on that one. And like, I kind of think of it as, I just want to keep in my circle of like doing what I do, you know? So I'm like, be healthy, help people, you know, treat your staff well, like build businesses,
right?
You know, love the people around you, find good people, keep them close. keep learning and growing. Okay, there's your like, I do well in that area of influence. It's just stay in that attention span and attention bandwidth and just like keep there. That's kind of my practice around that. So when people are like, why aren't you talking about this? Because I had it happen today. That's why it's fresh on my mind. Right?
Oh, okay.
Literally while I was sitting here,
Okay.
while you're coming in, and somebody was like, hey, they invited me to a protest in Vancouver for the Palestine thing. And I was like, well, I'm not even in Bali. They're like, okay, can you at least share it? And I was like, fine. Like I'll share it on my stories, but I got guilted into it, to be honest, because my practice is to not really get involved into a lot of the stuff because I don't know enough about what's happening. But I will agree, the genocide that's happening to the kids in Palestine is fucked up.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Like it's
bro.
not okay. It's
disgusting.
really fucked up.
Yeah.
And always it's the civilians that are suffering, the general population is suffering for these global agendas of resources. Like, it's always that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that sucks. Okay, I'll share it because I'm not okay with that.
Right.
But then I was like, yeah, but it's always a thing. So I just wanted to talk to you about that. I know we went way off track.
Right.
But I wanted to hear your opinion on the situation. And because I see you as somebody who's focused and is doing something awesome, and you know what do you put your heart and energy into? You know, what are you putting your time into? I think it really matters to be able to build something of yourself. Like, okay, to be a world-class fighter, it's going to take some focus. You know,
Just a little bit.
you know, and so we can't be outraged at everything. And I feel like that's like that with me is like, well, I want to leave a legacy and impact a lot of people. I'm trying to, you know, now kind of actually getting out of the tattoo business, and I'm going into hosting retreats and really going into my coaching and growing this podcast. And I got a lot of shit going on that I can't be outraged at everything. Like I really need to just focus on
Pick your battles.
Pick your battles, you know? And I'm like, well, I'll be able to, it's not all selfish things. I want to help a lot of people with what I'm doing. You know, I want to give, connect, and inspire, but that's going to take me really focusing on this. So I think when people are like virtue signaling and outraging on everything, but it's usually like, well, what are you doing in the world though, practically in your circle of influence that's helping the world?
Right.
Kind of thing. You know,
Right.
it's kind of where I land on that situation.
Because those people probably have nothing else going on for them, you know, and then they're just following the trend, you know, oh, we have to be outraged about A, B, or C because that's what, you know, the trend is, the general consensus.
They usually work at Starbucks or something. Like there's some like don't have a passion career or project, so they have like they have a job.
You know, that's like that's the thing that keeps them going. You know, and it's kind of sad to be honest. You know, like because again, there's so much other stuff that can help them become a better person aside from just being mad about A, B, or C.
Totally. And I don't think that's actually contributing to something. So I think, you know, to relate it back and to see what you've done with your life is like pick something that you're passionate about.
Right.
Work on yourself and put some serious focus and dedication and energy into it, and then get really good at it. And then when bad shit happens, because it literally always will, there's always gonna be, you know, an injury or a heartbreak or a setback. Persevere through that and really make your way through the hard shit that happens, and that's the time that counts. Yeah, that's the time that really matters. I loved when you said that. Like that's when it counts double. That's when you got to put that time in when you don't want to get through it, because you followed your passion, you developed yourself, you're being resilient in the time of hardship, and that really makes you who you are. And then enjoy your life.
Exactly.
Eat good food if you want to. Have a whiskey if you want to.
Right.
You know, and I really love that. I'm happy that I got to get to know you more on this level, because there's so many similarities. I knew that right when I saw you. I was like, yeah, we're going to be friends. And I can't wait to train with you in the capacity I can right now. Yes. So I'm excited for that. Let's do that very soon. And thank you for your time, bro. I really appreciate you being here.
Man, likewise, man. Likewise.
And all the knowledge and wisdom and fun talks that we had out of this one. And I hope to see more of you. And let us know where we can find you, and what you got going on. Is it your Instagram is your main channel?
Yeah, pretty much Anthony. Is it Anthony.Engelen or Anthony Engelen at Instagram?
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. Find me there. Find me at Bali MMA. I'm there every day.
Amazing.
Training my ass off, helping other people to better themselves as well. So come find me there.
Bali MMA is dope. I'm excited to come and spend some time there with you training. That's Bali's like premier training Muay Thai and martial arts space, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah, awesome. And that's getting some worldwide, like people know about Bali MMA. It's getting some clout. Like it's a great place.
It is.
Very cool.
It is. We have high level coaches, high level fighters, people from all around the world, and like you say, man, like we got visitors like the top of the top coming every other week.
Amazing.
Aljamain Sterling was just with us a few weeks ago. Brandon, the PFL champ, was training with us. We got champs and fighters from every organization always coming to train with us.
I think it's so dope to be in that field, in that energy, like to go train somewhere where there's some awesome people. And it's like this in anything in life. Like when I wanted to learn about yoga, I went where some serious yoga people are going to be. Or when I wanted to learn about martial arts, I went and trained in Thailand, and I was training with Sanchai, like one of the goats, you know? Yeah. So it's like to be in that field, just to be around breathing the same air as people who are doing some dope shit. Yeah. Like that's why I like to go into masterminds. And that's why I want to host retreats. And being in the same energy as people that are about it is super powerful, because we, just like I said, get out of your environment, go somewhere else, but go somewhere else where people are doing it. They're doing whatever you want to do. They're doing it, right? And go do that, and just hang out with them. You see how they
surround yourself with people, you know, that are really good in that field, right? Yeah, and kind of take that from them, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Even down to the little things, you'll just see like what they order for lunch, or you know, like how they tie their fucking shoes, whatever, but you just see how they do their thing and they're really doing it. And there's something like you learn through osmosis, but you also pick up something that you wouldn't expect to pick up. Right. Like my buddy Dave, he's a meditation teacher, but he's also has like 13 businesses. He's a beast. He owns the Astana down here in Uluwatu. Oh, okay. Awesome place. Like he's one of the most evolved humans I've ever met. Oh. When we first hung out and I saw him order a sparkling water with salt and some lime, and I was just like, what the fuck is that? He's like, oh, it's a suero. It's very hydrating, and you just put a teaspoon of salt in and squeeze some lemons or limes in it, and it's super hydrating for you. It comes from South America. I was like, son of a bitch. And I've been doing it ever since, and I feel good when I drink it. Okay. And it's great after you had a coffee too. Okay. And I was like, wow, I never would have known that. It's not like there's like a course on that or anything. I just saw, it probably is, but I just saw the guy doing it. And I was just like, somebody high level doing something small like that as one of their habits and all the things that they do. But I picked up on that and kept it the rest of my life. Yeah. And that's the way. I love that shit. So I'm excited to come train with you and just to see how you roll and all these things, because it's so important for us to learn that. And I think why listening to podcasts and stuff like that is you might hear that suero thing, the sea salt drink, and you're gonna be like, son of a bitch, and you're going to try it now. But those little pieces of information you can get in, just getting it somewhere and then integrating it as your own is like one of my most satisfying things in life. I love that shit. Yeah. You know, and I see you doing that so much, and I'm sure that's why you've been training with all these amazing people. Yeah. But anyways, another tangent. We were closing up the show. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you for coming in.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
And everybody, if you found value in this, please give this a like, subscribe, follow, all the things. It costs you nothing, and it helps us get the show bigger. And my goal for 2024 is to really grow this show, get it out there, get some more amazing guests like Anthony, and bring some more value to you guys. Because like I said, learning and maybe something out of this show was something that you just needed. That was like, oh, that's gold. That little thing is what I needed in my life today. It's enriching, and I want to keep bringing that to you and growing the show. So please subscribe, follow, share it for me, tag me. I will reshare it. Tell me if you love the episode. I love to hear from you guys, and thank you. Really, really thank you. Peace out, homies. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ink Pray Love podcast. I hope you found it inspiring, entertaining, funny, and also feeling a little bit more present and connected to yourself. Please leave a review and like and subscribe and do all those things. I'd really appreciate that. As well as if you're feeling in a giving mood, this podcast is there for the charities that I love to support. Go to www.aaronbaya.com/charity and get some of those good karma points. This podcast is brought to you by Lighthouse Studios in Bali, as well as Full Reset Coaching. That is my coaching practice. And if you're looking for help in business, inner game impact, and building your legacy to be something you're proud of, your brand, your business, and how you walk the earth and who you impact, and also having the mindset and the heart set to be able to be happy handling it all, I'm here for you. Just DM me. Let's go. Peace out, homies. I'll see you on the next episode.